Welcome everyone to the Marvel Snapcast podcast. I'm your host Ken, aka the Super Tech God, the gentleman with every variant in the game.
Every variant?
Every variant. That's right. I'm here with your co-host, as always, the one and only It's Guest Gaming, the epic sax party man himself. Welcome on in, guest. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, good, man. Good. Just trying to get back into Snap Brain, I think is a good way to talk about it. We'll talk about it towards the end of the podcast, but
Of
just
course.
getting back into Snap Brain because I took a couple hours to divert outward.
I hear that. And of course, we're here with the one and only Gunny T, where the T stands for everything. Gunny, how you doing, buddy?
It stands for all kinds of stuff, doesn't
It
it?
sure does. How you been, Gunny?
Great. I've actually been playing a lot of Snap recently, so it's been really fantastic.
Yes. I heard you got to a great ranking number. I guess you'll talk about it later as well, but congratulations.
I mean, not super great, but yeah. So I think pretty good for somebody who casually plays.
There you go. All right. So we'll kick things off, of course, with the newest card that came out and the season wrap-up, and that is, of course, with the card Clea. Now, Clea came out this week, was met with not too well receptions, but nonetheless, let's talk about the card and what it does. So this card is a 1/2. When this is permanently gains power, add a Flames of the Fall Time. Boom, I got to read Fall Time to your
Dyslexic,
hand.
it happens, you know.
Hey, listen, I need my glasses. I don't know why I'm playing like I can't.
Oh, sure,
wear
that's why,
glasses. Yeah, it gotta be the glasses.
Of course.
You know why? It has to be the glasses, guys. I'm not even sharing the screen. How is our people watching this gonna know exactly what I'm talking about if they don't see it themselves? And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Clea. When this permanently gains power, add Flames of the Fall Time to your hand, if in hand or in play. Now the Flames of the Fall Time is one on reveal, afflict an enemy card here with -3 power. So I did play with the card. I did have some weird builds with it, went 3-0 with it, and I was like, oh snap, this is awesome, then went downhill from there. But I think the card will work out better if the Flames did a little bit more damage, meaning maybe it did the whole row of cards with -1 or -2. I don't know. It was a very interesting thing with the card. I played with it one night, and I was just like, you know what? It is what it is. I'm definitely giving this card a silver. That is my take on this card, just straight silver. Guess, did you play with the card? How you feel about it? What is your ranking?
I hate this bitch. Like,
Good response.
yeah. Okay, so I was talking about it on stream where I've never thought that it would be possible to feel like a 1-drop is clunky, but it is. It actually is. Like,
Yeah.
it just feels wrong as a card. Something is misbalanced in it for the gameplay lines that it wants to play in. And I think it's because, like, thinking about like how I can make this card better, it might just literally be have it not be a 1/2. Just have it be something else, because it's consistency with the getting out the Flames of the Fall Time when you're using Marvel Boy. Sure, you can get one every single turn. That's great. But now you're playing the game of did you get your werewolf or not? Or you're playing the game of did you get your high Evo A-bomb or not? You know, and it just consistently felt like I was trying way too hard to get this card to buff up on the board. I tried a variety of different decks, and I never felt like it was a successful card in that moment. Then the only deck that started to show a little bit of promise was a deck I named Just Hold Clea, which was exclusively about buffing the hand, and then when the Flames of Fall Time are in your hand, you just play them as 1/3s, basically. And just play them out as you can when they occasionally get there. And that seemed to be the only way to get this card to work. I played it with like Mysterio Bishop in there, so that way I had even Toxie Doxie was getting some love with the whole Scarlet Spider, Mr. Sinister type alternate play line. So you're buffing your hand as much as possible, then dropping everything turn 5 and 6, basically. And that seemed to work a little, but it was trying so hard to get the mechanic to work that if you're playing a Clea deck, it's a non-interactive deck that I would rather just play Mr. Negative or Move Bounce if it's going to be a non-interactive deck, because those scale way, way, way higher. It just feels clunky, and now I understand why they gave it a buff from its original data mine of -2 power from the Flames of Valtine to -3 power. I literally just don't think it's enough. I don't think the card is good enough to be justifiable higher than silver.
I agree. I think we can play a fiction with way better decks builds than this one with her in it. So it's like, I felt that. When I played the card, I'm like, my Diamondback didn't do much but hit this one card I don't care about, where Hazmat is a way better thing to do. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just, I agree with you, super clunky. So
I'd rather play High Evil Wasp to get the Diamondback to do its thing, and it's free.
Facts. And it's free.
You know, like, why am I trying so hard to get it down, buff it up, get the Valtine, play out the Valtine, then do the thing? It's
just a lot.
It's too many hoops.
I agree. Gunny, how you feel about it? I know we play a little bit more than you have. But.
Yeah, I didn't get the card, but playing against the card, like, it never felt like a needle mover. And I think I have some, just thinking about this as you're talking, I think I know why. What turns does playing a 1/3 feel good? What do you think? Like, does playing a 1/3 on turn 6 really feel good to you?
Not as good as playing a Bob. Or
does playing a 1/3 on even like
a demon.
turn 5, 4,
a demon,
the later
right?
Turns,
Exactly.
The later turns just don't feel good. Unfortunately, with Clea, that's the turns where you're getting the Flames of the Valtine. So you're doing all this work to then do something that I would think is suboptimal. Like, you're not really progressing your game plan unless you really build around it. I really like what Guest said too. I think taking this up to a 2 power, maybe like a 2/4, even a 2/3, something like that. Specifically because of Killmonger, right? If your Clea gets taken out, obviously it takes away the Hydra or the Marvel Boy stuff, which is one of the best ways to activate it. But man, like, it getting taken out.
Sorry, what?
It still
One
sucks.
thing I think they could possibly do to fix this would either be every turn add a Flames of the Valtine to your hand that is only -1 power. So you're getting it almost like Merlin, but you know what spell you're getting every turn, so you can activate your Diamondback, activate your Werewolf, something like that, without any work that goes into it. Or B, what do you think about if every Flames of the Valtine you get is increased by 1? So the first one is a -3, next one's -4, next one's -5. So as you're progressively putting more effort into it, your payoff is much higher.
That'd be OP, but I think I like it better than what we got right
I don't really
now.
know. How many times, guess, how many times were you getting Flames of the Valtines in your games where you focused on that deck?
When I was playing it on the board, nowhere near as consistently as once I just left it in my hand.
All right.
When it was in my hand, I was like, okay, let's talk now. You know, now we've got something that we can work with.
Were you getting 3 of them? Were you getting 4 of them? 5?
I'd say
3.
at most 3.
Yeah,
Right.
I'd say minimum 1, obviously, but I'd say at most 3.
So at most 3, you're putting all this effort in to get a demon, right?
Cumulatively, then it's a 4/11.
Right, because of her power too.
And that seems like okay. That seems okay to me to have a 4/11 that you have to put that much effort into. That's not base.
Yeah.
That you said that was the best case scenario.
Well, it's 4/11, not considering the buffs that she has on her. So it's the 1/2 plus the 3 1/3s. That's a total of 4/11 value. So it's technically 4/11 plus. So let's say it's, you know, you got Nakia, and then you got Toxie, and then you got Gwenpool. You know, that could be 5.
Yeah.
You know, so it could be a
You're also
4/16 in total.
You're playing a pretty terrible deck to do that.
That's the only deck that really fucking worked. That's the sad part. That's what I'm saying.
I don't even think that the buffs added onto it plus the 4/11. I still don't even think that would be outrageous for this card.
Yeah, I think it's just trying too hard to do too many things because it's specifically saying in hand or in play. And because of that, it wants to be a 1/2 to give you as much flexibility as possible. But then when push comes to shove and you want to drop it down, you typically want to drop it down towards the end. And right now as a 1/2, it's too invaluable to have in your hand early because you don't want to play it on the board because you're not trying to Ironheart it. You're not trying to Nomura it. You're not trying to buff it that way. You're not going Forge into Clea and feeling good about yourself in any way, shape, or form. So that's what I'm saying. I think Clea needs to be a card that wants to stay in the hand longer. Like, I would love seeing this card be a 3/4, because now you've got the option of how you want to run this with like that whole Surfer synergy with like Limbo and Absman, so you could play it down on the turn 6 and still get it to go in, but you're also Nakia-ing, and then you've got the organic synergy that happens because of the Absorbing Man. Like, I'd love to see Clea at a 3/4. I think that'd be a much more interesting card, because a 3/4 that gives you 1-drops seems a lot more valuable than this 1-drop that gives me 1-drops. I just feel like the play line of it wanting to be like, oh, you could also do it in the hand. Oh, you could also do it in play. I think it forces too many it creates too many options, and it should be refined. And I think if you refine it to just being wanting to be in the hand, then go ahead and do that. Because if you want it to be in play, then you should have it be a 0, like literally a 0/0.
Yeah.
And then you can go turn 2, Forge into Clea, and then you don't feel bad about it. Now you've got some decent value out of it that way. Like that.
I like the 0/0.
Yeah, because now you're trying to get rid of the Killmonger, right? Get away from that, because putting her down.
Well, you're trying to buff it in your hand, because then you got a 0/5 or a 0/6 that you could drop on the final turn.
Right.
That seems very interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Nonetheless, we'll see what happens.
It's never been effective.
It's a silver. It's a silver. It's
yes. Definitely a silver.
I think
almost a double plastic.
Freely.
But
I think this thing's a plastic, double plastic.
I mean, it has a home. I think guest deck is fine. If it had no home, definitely a plastic is what it is.
If it's home, it's wood.
Yeah.
No, plastic. Plastic.
If
no wood here.
I would. If it's no home, it's Groot. So I think.
Yeah.
Basically, the home that it has is a trailer.
Yeah, right. That's plastic, right? Ain't it?
Like, you remember the trailer from like you play the game of life, and it'd be the broken down trailer for $30,000 that you'd have to choose as your possible living space. That's the trailer. That one.
We've given away some plastic here for sure.
Oh,
yeah. So I get it, but it is what it is. Then we go on to the season itself. I mean, we got to give this season a great review and see how it sounds. But we had Merlin, which was the season pass card, of course. Good season pass card, probably one of the best this season so far. I mean, this year so far. Then we had Morgan Le Fay. We had Nicholas Scratch.
Hold on. Wait, are you talking about like right now or been released?
Released as
released
of right
this
now
year. He's
for the year thus far.
2025.
I mean, I think Iron Patriot and Sam Wilson were better than on release. Were better than Merlin is.
Yeah, I said one of the best. I didn't say it was the best.
You said the best. You said it might be the best.
I said one of the best.
Play the videotape.
Yes, rewind it back. You'll see. I said one of the best cards, one of the best season pass cards for 2025.
All right.
Yeah, come on. I'm not putting this over Sam Wilson. Are you mad? Then we had Morgan Le Fay. We had Nicholas Scratch. Jennifer Kill, which is one of my favorite cards this season as well. The Ancient One, which still needs some love. Nightmare, my diamond card pick. And Dormammu along with Clea. So this season had a plethora of cards. Ton for everybody to choose from and have a good time with. For me, I think the season overall, even though we had some good cards here, wasn't that much fun. To be honest with you, outside of the issue with the high voltage, put that aside. Just the cards itself, the meta and everything else going on. This season was I don't know. It wasn't that entertaining. I think last season I had more fun than this season.
Are
to
you
be honest
also
with you
taking
guys.
into account Mercury and Hellion?
No.
Yeah.
I'm putting those aside as well. I'm only going off of what we were supposed to get.
Are you also putting aside Astral Projection and Kid Omega?
Kid Omega, I am. Not Astral Projection. I just got that card yesterday after working my butt off. But I think that was the problem too. Maybe that's what it was. Too much things to do at once. I think I just felt like, you know what, I was getting tired of playing as much as I was doing, offline especially. So I think it was a lot going on as to why I think last season, to me, felt more fun. So for me, I'm definitely giving this season overall a double gold. Because we have so much cards, I can't give anything less than that because it gives people a lot of options. The Kid Omega stuff, like I said, I'm not going to count that. I'm not counting the 2 cards we got by accident. But everything else combined together, and this season and the grind it felt to do all these different things at once. I mean, I haven't even gotten my Arrow variant from Conquest yet. Like, I have to do that now. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things it feels like I have to do, and it's a grind right now. So for me, definitely a double goal. Gunny, how you feel about this season overall?
You know what the back-to-back limited time game modes reminds me of? It reminds me of last month's, I guess last month and the beginning of this month, the 2 Golden Gauntlets, right?
Yeah.
The players got fatigued with it because it was back-to-back. Limited time game modes are great, but needing to do that back-to-back, I think, is not what the players want. They want a little break in between. And that's one of the feedbacks we heard about the Golden Gauntlet, and something we definitely took into account. And at least we have already talked amongst ourselves that we do not plan on having, two, like a weekend of tournament break and a following weekend. So within 2 weeks, we're not aiming to do that again unless something special comes up. So yeah, there's a little bit of player fatigue there. When I look at the cards for the month, the ones that you just showed, honestly, Merlin is I guess a lot of players have had fun with it. I think it's a solid gold. Merlin is meta shaping. I do think the card is in tons of decks, tons of places to be seen. There are people who had tons of fun with Duramahamu, and people had tons of fun with Nightmare. But other than that, I think the rest of the cards are kind of dull. They might find homes later, but
Kale is great, but continue.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a gold. I can't give it much higher than that.
Okay, and that's not counting Kid Omega.
It's not. Nope.
Okay.
Mercury
Helion.
or Alien.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Cool. Guess, how do you feel?
So I'm not going to discount all of those other cards because when you look at how many cards, how many skills, how many effects all dropped within the month that you have to be aware of, that you have to be relevant for. You have to know what Mercury does. You have to know what Hellion does. You have to be able to play around those cards, whether you got them or not. You have to know what Kid Omega does, whether you got him or not. It's still an introduction to something that you're going to potentially battle against. Like Gunny even just said it earlier. He didn't get the new card. Okay, but he's gone up against Clea quite a few times. So he has to be aware of the presence of the card. I called it the day before the season started, and even with my mess up in there by revealing that we were getting Sanctum Showdown a day early than the Marvel Snap blog was gonna post, I knew this was going to be an exhausting season, and I knew going into it was going to give fatigue, and I'm so glad there wasn't a Golden Gauntlet this month. Because if we had also thrown that on top of all of this, I think the players would have been in a even further position of what you're feeling, which is very much what I'm feeling as well, which is I'm oversnapped. I burned out. I started looking for other things to do because there was just so much snap going on. There were so many different cards to have to know about, so many different game modes, so many different things happening at once. Limited time should be that, as in a limited amount of time, not limited into a limited, because comparatively to what it was the last time it came out, it's limited. Like no. Limit it within the month, not just limited compared to when it last appeared.
Correct.
This was an exhausting season. More than anything else. It was a marathon for so many. And the beginning of the season also had the Golden Gauntlet, technically, if you want to feed into how it all really fed together. Sure. Like there's a lot of things that were happening in this season. And I think that's the biggest piece that I took away from it, even knowing that this was going to happen and seeing the writing on the wall. Here we are now at the end of the season, and I'm fucking tired. I'm pretty sure that's exactly how a majority of the player base feels as well. Give us a damn breather. Let us have... If there was ever a time for Second Dinner to say, you know what? The week of July blank, we're not going to release a new card or have a limited game mode, and that's just going to be we're just going to work on some bugs instead and give you all a breather. if there was ever a time for that to happen, it would be right now. This would be the perfect moment to make that kind of an announcement, that kind of an introduction to the community, to give the developers and the players the break we all need. Even though that's not what's going to happen, because we have a themed month coming up next month. Well, next week, technically. Next week it starts.
Next week from this recording.
You know what I mean. And next season, there we go. That's better wording. Next season is just chaotic because it's a lot of themed cards. And I look at all of the cards that are coming out next season, and I look at all of the cards that came out, whether they were intentional or not, or expensive or cheap, it doesn't matter. All of the cards that came out this season. I think people will feel that sense of relief comparatively a little bit, but everyone's still stressed and pissed off from the Kid Omega situation, plus just the amount of things that they've done. Like you were just saying it yourself, Tech, that you still have to go play Conquest just to get your Conquest variant.
Yeah.
You know, like there's just so much to do. There's no breathing room. I think we're going to have that in comparison next season, but they're carrying over that angst and that irritability and that frustration from this overdone season into next season because of how the season pass is going to be rolling out with Fantasticar. This season overall, I'm going to give it a gold because it was good for the things that we did get from it, but it was just like standing in front of a buffet. There were too many options, and you can only fit so much on your plate.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. Well said. Well put. That's what it is, guys. It can happen. I thought it can happen to me. I'm like, I'll play Snap till I'm ready. Of course it'd be no issue. No, I felt the burnout this season. It's crazy that it happened. So if you guys feel the way we feel, make sure you guys take a break, because in the next couple of days it's about to start all over again with the new season.
Breaks are
Speaking
great. So I'm not feeling as burnt out as you two are, but I took my break over the holidays over Christmas. So December and January, I didn't play much. I played like barely any. I didn't hit infinite. I got down to like rank 30, and I just took a break, and it was awesome.
Love to hear that, man. Breaks are great. That's what we need to do, guys, because we got another season coming up. And speaking of next season, let's talk about the 3 new cards coming out next week. Now, as Guest mentioned a minute ago, one of those cards will be behind the premium season pass, which I've gone on stream saying I understand people how they feel about it. I feel it's okay, because if you were buying the premium pass already, you were getting just one card anyway and a variant. Now the fact that we get more bang for our buck, I'm not mad at that, right? Be able to get 2 cards for $20 versus one card for $20. I think it's a plus. I do understand from the free-to-play players' perspective that they won't be able to get this card unless they spend the $20. But at the end of the day, they don't spend the $10. They still got to wait for the card to come out and get it for free anyway. So I don't think it's an issue. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens when it rolls out. That card that is coming out behind the $20 premium pass is both Mr. Fantastic First Steps and Fantasticar. Now, we're going to look at this card. I don't know what Fantasticar does, or Mr. Fantastic, to be honest. Let's see if they are either worth the $20 or even worth the headache to be like, oh, why is it behind this premium pass? So we'll start things off.
This season is a banger. I can't wait to talk about it.
Okay, all right. Well, let's see. Let's kick things off with the first card, and that is Mr. Fantastic First Steps. Now, I already bought my tickets. Yeah, I got you. I already bought the tickets to see it with my son. We're going to go see it the weekend it comes out, the Saturday, so I'm pumped. Cannot wait to watch this film. And Mr. Fantastic First Steps, it is a end of turn. Give a card in your hand, -1 cost or +2 power. Now, this right here is stuff dreams are made of. It is a 2/2. So after every end of turn, right? I'm assuming after every end of turn, not just one time. It picks a random card and gives it -1 cost or +2 power. So Fastos for your hand, essentially, or better Fastos to be. Oh no, I think Fastos is the same thing. For your hand versus Fastos for your deck. Not bad. Is it worth the $10? Is it going to be on par with Merlin and the other season pass cards? I guess. I mean, people play Mobius, this will be a pain in the butt. But nonetheless, I'm excited to get this card. And I think it's going to be a good card. So my preview rating for this is definitely going to be a platinum. I think it's going to be a platinum card. Any card that can do kind of what Surge does, either or Fastos, and it's only a 2 cost, yeah, I'm for sure. You don't have anything else to go with it. You don't have to be winning the lane. You don't have to be having the most power. You have to worry about energy. It's just end of turn. Give some love to your hand. So that's for me. I say it's a platinum. Guess, how do you feel about Mr. Fantastic First Steps?
If Surge taught us anything, it's that the idea of play the card that has the extra power because it's the better card right away the second it gets the buff. You get that value twice. You get enough value out of the card to say this is worth being in your deck. If you have a card that reduces a card's cost twice, or 2 cards down by 1 each, it has already justified itself. This card, as long as you're dropping it down before turn 5, you're going to get value out of this card without a question of a doubt. And that means it's going to be flexible. And it's also the beginning of, the series of cards that come out throughout the month and how they all synergize together, which is a part of why the season pass will be important if you specifically plan on getting any of the other cards that also come out this season for the Series 5 releases. There is a very specific amount of play that also comes from this card because of the limited time game mode that is currently data mined within it as well. So I'm assuming that's also going to come out too. And this card does have a role in that as well. So there's no, but it's at the end of the month. So don't worry. We got some breathing room. It's at the end of the month though. We got a little bit of a break according to what we know so far. Because it's 4th of July weekend, I don't expect us to hear anything until Monday regarding whatever the full release for the first step season we'll call it will be. But I think this is a very good card. It's going to be the most flexible, all puns intended, with Mr. Fantastic, the most flexible card out of all of the Fantastic Four that released this season that will go into the most decks. So it makes total sense that it will be the season pass. As a $10 value, this is a great card.
Yeah. I also like that it's a 2 cost because now make a decision, guys. Surge or Mr. Fantastic, right?
Right.
If it was a 1 cost or a 3 cost, then that combo would have been an issue. The fact it's a 2 cost, you got to pick which one you want to do, and I like that. So smart thinking on their part. Gunny, how do you feel about this card, man?
I think this card is not on the same realm as Surge, Merlin, Iron Patriot before, and
Sam Wilson
before, right? So as the 2 drops that have been released this year, I think it's slightly worse, which isn't a terrible thing. I think you spoke about this before, but the end of turn fact on this and the cards that are coming out the rest of the month, that's going to be very important for this card. So I think right now, gold. But with the rest of the cards that come out, this turns into a platinum. The reason why I say that is, for instance, Surge is a -1 cost +1 power. Both of those things, that's better than -1 or +2. And I think that's pretty big there. Obviously, Surge can be interacted with in different ways. You have to play the card out to get the thing to happen. So it can be very interesting in that point. But I do think that Mr. Fantastic it's honestly right where I want to see a season pass card be. It's not broken. It's not crazy. But I think Surge is generically better than Mr. Fantastic.
Wow.
Okay.
Especially when you're talking about like the Zabu 4 decks, right? So you have your Zabu to decrease your 4s. You have your Surge to also decrease your 4s to get those out on turn 3. Obviously, this can do the same thing, and it's kind of still hitting randomly. But I would much rather have -1 cost on my Galacta than I would +2 power on my Galacta.
Yeah, but then you think about other cards like Shang-Chi that the Zabu didn't hit because it's in his hand, and you play this card, now your Shang-Chi has +2 power, or even your Shang-Chi's 1 less cost. I mean, I think it has its place because she focuses strictly on the deck where he focuses on the hand. So you have an opportunity to kind of see exactly and hope what card you can get out there. Go ahead, guys. What you got to say about it?
No, so this is where I get nerdy. statistically speaking, depending on the amount of 4-drops that you have, considering the ratio of, if you're playing a 4-drop deck that's a Zabu Surge deck, typically you're playing at least 3 4-drops, right? Statistically speaking, you have a better chance of drawing and hitting a 4-drop in your hand by the end of turn 2 than you do drawing Surge and playing Surge and then drawing a 4-drop out of the cards remaining in your deck to be a now 3-drop. You have a better chance. So for that reason alone, you end up with a better mathematical chance to get a 4-drop down on 3 by playing Mr. Fantastic over Surge. So in the Zabu builds, it will probably or potentially replace Surge. In most other builds that can have that playable flexibility, then maybe you go down the Surge path because you're trying to just get the cards on the board. You know, It doesn't matter what draws next. It's all low. It's like a Surfer deck. It's all low drops. It's very rarely the one specific card you're waiting for. You know what I mean? So I think that's where this changes.
You're not taking into account that it's -1 cost or +2 power. So there's another 50-50 in that as well for the cards in your hand. You're just as likely to have your Shang-Chi get +2 power and be a 4/5 than you are to have it be a 3 cost.
Right. I'm good either way with that 4 or 5 or 3.
Now, one other piece on this, as it compared to Fastos, one thing that's very particularly important about Mr. Fantastic over Fastos is you're only affecting cards that you are going to be able to play. Mr. Fantastic affects at least, normally 3 cards in your deck that you'll never ever see.
Mr. Fantastic?
Fastos,
excuse me. Yeah. Right. Why I think this is a better card. Right?
Agreed.
We're on the same page? Okay, cool.
Then
Yeah,
Fastos,
perfect.
yes.
Yeah, I'm me because you know me. I'm waiting to play this card with Infinite She-Hulk and just hopefully buff or make him cost less so I could play both of them on the last turn anyway, get some Moon Girl love in there. You guys have no idea. So in my mind, this card is phenomenal because, get those cards in my hand using the card we didn't like before. What's his name? Thaddeus Ross, and then having this card do his thing. Listen, you guys heard it here first. We're going to have some fun with some She-Hulk, Infinite, and Mr. Fantastic. Nonetheless, on to the next card. And the next card we're going to talk about here is the second card that will be showing up in the Premium Battle Pass, and that is the one and only Fantasticar. So now this card here is an activate, give your end of turn cards +2 power. Well. It being a 4-cost card, meaning you can only activate turn 5 or turn 6, and it only happens one time, giving those cards +2 power. Yeah, this being behind the $20 Premium Pass, I don't think it's that much of a great card for us to even worry about. If it was a Kid Omega, I can get it, but Fantasticar is going to be mainly used in, like you guys mentioned, majority of the cards coming out this season. So for me, yeah, this card to me gets a gold off the back. I say gold. I was going to say double silver, but I like this just a little bit, so I'm going to give it a gold as a preview. Guess, how do you feel about Fantasticar?
So there was a great realization on the 8 Cubes podcast where they talked about this card and the relevance about needing to get it immediately versus when it'll drop into the series packs, because a lot of people are up in arms that Fantasticar is going to be locked behind the season pass on the premium level exclusively for the first month of its release. And then on August 5th, which is the beginning of the August season, then it will drop down into the Series 4 snap packs. Please weigh into the fact a couple of things about this card, okay? Number one, this is a card that is specifically meant to be an expensive activate, which is a 4/7, and it gives all the cards that say end of turn +2 power. So the cards at end of turn are, I want to say 15 of them currently in the game. Right. That's it. There's 15 of them. That includes things like, Essen, Havoc, Thena, Makari, Strange Supreme, you know, like there's quite a few of them that do that. But most importantly for Fantasticar, Mr. Fantastic First Steps, The Thing First Steps, and then Data Mined, 2 of the cards in August are also end of turn cards. Okay. So it's meant, and those are also cards that will synergize with the whole Mr. Fantastic, Fantastic Four First Steps theming. This card is meant to go with the Fantastic Four. It's meant to build a Fantastic Four deck more than anything else. It's a fantastic car.
Yeah.
If you do not plan on wanting to play that deck this month, specifically this month, July, you don't need this card in the month of July. It will be 3,000 tokens on August 5th. So if you want to get it, you'll get it early, and it's only $10 to do that. Considering that the premium pass has had pretty much no actual value, just to spend more for like what, 3 borders, I think it is, and like maybe a variant.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's just it's so bad. It's been so bad for the last 2+ years to put a card access at a series 4 value for $10. I think that that's more than reasonable, as long as it continues to be cards that can be important for the month of release. So if you slowly get all the cards throughout the entire season, you know, you get, you know, the Thing First Steps, and you get Invisible Woman First Steps, you don't need to have Fantasticar yet. But as soon as you get all of them, the next week, 3,000 tokens, you can get Fantasticar and make that deck even better. So that's how I think you have to look at this locked behind the premium season pass, is that Mr. Fantastic is $10 and Fantasticar is $10. They're 2 separate $10 purchases. To say it's a $20 purchase for this card is wrong. And you've said it actually a couple of times tonight already, Tech, and it's like that's no, it's not. It's 10 and 10.
The reason why I say 20 is because you have to buy the premium. You have to buy the pass for. You have to buy Mr. Fantastic, and it's been extra $10. Then say you get 2 cards for $20. You don't get this card for $20. You get 2 cards for $20. You get Mr. Fantastic and Fantasticar. And there's a big discrepancy in explaining that for the community as well, so they understand what the relevance is of this card to the other cards that are coming out this month, to the other cards that exist in the game currently that would be affected by this. There's only one, maybe, keyword, maybe 2 decks that benefit from Fantasticar. High Evo decks would benefit from this, and Fantastic decks are going to benefit from this. I'm not freaking out about Marvel Boy getting +2 power at some point. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay. Right. All right, Gunny, how do you feel about Fantasticar?
I think the card's going to be really awesome. Its ability is strong, right? So let's say even if you only hit 2 cards with it, you're getting a 4/11. That's pretty great stats, right? And then as we'll see, I don't think we're talking about it, but there's other cards that benefit greatly, specifically Human Torch, from that 2 extra power. That's going to make this card really good. And to touch point on what you were saying about purchasing this card for $10, I think a lot of interest and focus has been put on free-to-play players and how this hurts them. There's a number of players like myself that is fair. Like, I have money to spend on the game, and I don't mind spending money. I like good deals for my money, and I do think getting another card for $10 is a good deal for my money, and I think that's pretty okay. What they had spoke about on 8 cubes makes a lot of sense. This card gets a bit insane once you get Invisible Woman. So realistically speaking, if you get Invisible Woman, last card released in the month, you wait another week and you can get this card for your 3,000 tokens, or get it into your snap pack, or however it is that you're going to get
it for free if you get a series 5 pack.
I don't think the deck gets nuts until then. So you're really out the card for about a week if you don't want to spend on it. But for me, it's a slam dunk. I love the ability to just purchase another card for $10. Every time a bundle comes up for a series 4 or 5 card that I don't own and I can buy it, that's great value for me, especially now that we get the base card with the alternate that the variant that we buy.
With the variant, correct.
So I'm actually really excited about the I have never ever purchased the Premium Series Pass before, and I will. And I think there's a number of players out there that are also kind of scratching their head like, wait, hold on. We're getting a lot of value out of this. I need to spend money, but my money's being pretty well spent.
Yes, because like I said, especially in my side of the world where I was getting variants only in Borders, I'm like, listen, it's nice to get the variants, every variant in the game, but to get a card now, I think that's a great deal. Nonetheless, along with this card and the wonderful Mr. Fantastic, there is the card that does come out in the series packs. And that card, of course, is the one and only Herby. Now, this card, I know a lot of people have been happy to get and talk about, so we're going to go ahead and describe what this card is all about and what it does. Now, Herby, so 3 cards potentially you guys are getting at the beginning of this season, and it is each turn this is in play, swap to a new activate ability until one is used. Now, we didn't see the video yet, probably won't see it till next week or the end of this week. We'll see what happens, but what activate ability will it switch to? Is it an activate ability that you have from a card in your deck, a card in your hand, or is it at random? That is the real question. And if it is random...
No.
Oh, there's a bunch of cards at the bottom. Look at that. Yeah. I didn't even... See, again, as you guys... I told you guys I didn't look at any of these. I'm looking at it with the same time with you guys. I didn't
Tech, it's okay. Take a break. I got
this.
There
it is.
So,
I did.
So
yeah, please. Do
Herby is basically what Nico is, but on the board. Right, so Nico changes in the hand every single turn and changes to a different effect out of the 6 possible effects, right? Herby does the same thing, but on the board after you play it. So once it's on the board, it'll be a rotating list of 4 different activates that it'll switch between every turn until you choose the one that you want it to be. Now, he's a 2/3 that can either double his own power, so obviously make him a 2/6, unless if he's buffed, then you can make him more, obviously. One of the other activates is create a rock here and then set its power to 4. So a 1/4 rock. The third ability is give 2 of your cards at each other location plus 1 power. So his total value there is a 2/7, which is very, very good as an activate. And then the last ability is activate next turn. You get +2 energy. So you don't know which ability you're going to have. It doesn't rotate in your hand. It just rotates once you play it on the board. And then turn 3 will happen. Herby will do his effect, his VFX, and then you'll see which of the different activates it is. So it'll, and then at the end of the turn, it'll flip. At the end of the turn, it'll flip.
I like that they gave us a different color. What the hell's the name of this thing again?
A vial.
Beaker. Vial. There it is.
Beaker, vial. Yeah,
different color.
I think both work. Yeah.
Same. Yeah. Color in his hand, so you know which one is different. I mean, the +2 energy is just straightly black. I'm assuming it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be like the other ones. But I do like the fact that we have different colors, so you know exactly, hey, that red one is doubling the power. The orange is setting the rock, and the blue one is giving, you know, the best thing out there. And, of course, the clear one or the white one is +2 energy. So I like that. This card is crazy. Sorry, guys, continue. I just wanted to just mention that.
Oh, no. It's fantastic. Like,
wow.
All puns intended. This card is not being talked about enough because everyone's up in arms about the whole Fantasticar situation, and the card hasn't even come out yet, and everyone's just sleeping on the fact that Herby might be one of the best cards this season. You know, if Nico Minoru gets as much love as she does for having that creative flexibility of whatever the card can do, this is just as much another 2-drop that fights for that 2-drop position, because this is, you know, there are some 2-drops that you want to play on turn 5 or turn 6, and there are some 2-drops you want to play on turn 2. Depending on the goal of what your deck is trying to do, this is a 2-drop that wants to be dropped on turn 2. And that makes this a very valuable card, in my opinion, because if you get this down on turn 2 or turn 3 and you have the full arrangement of possibilities of what he can do, I'm pretty stoked to have him get down onto the board, because that kind of flexibility every turn is very critical.
Agreed.
I'm here to rain on your parade.
Oh, But guess, hold on, before you go, I'm going to say my part because I know Gunny's going to say something real nice about the card. This, for me, at a preview, I'm giving this a double platinum. Guess what you give it, and then we'll give it over to Gunny to say what he has to say.
At a preview, I'm going to say it's at minimum a platinum. Minimum.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Gunny. Rain on our parade, please.
So there's some things fighting on this card. One of them is it's doubled up power. That means you kind of want this in your hand when your Mr. Fantastic is out, because you want that to be a 2/5 going down the board and possibly doubling it up to 10. +2 power, pretty great. You can use that any time in the game. The +1 power to 2 different cards, making it a 2/7, is actually going to be more difficult to do than you think, because you're going to be having to play cards in different lanes. So you're putting 2 power down, or you're putting 3 power down onto a spot, and then realistically you're trying to play cards in other lanes for that ability to go off. You want to maximize that, right?
Fair.
Definitely.
There are going to be times where you're really only fighting for 2 lanes, which is very typical in our game, where we're focusing on 2 lanes and we have an empty lane, or lanes that are closed out, whatnot. So you're not getting all of that ability. So 2/7, I think, is the best, right? If you can get that to happen, fantastic. But I think we're going to have times where it's a 2/5 more often than it's a 2/7. The setting a rock one is also a bit difficult because of the ability we just talked about, putting other cards into different lanes. So, for instance, Human Torch is coming out later. Very important theme going in this set, or this season, is filling up your lane. That rock really helps you do that, which is awesome. But you also want to fill up the lane with Mr. Fantastic in it, or sorry, with a Human Torch in it. So it's not really filling up the correct lane, because that's also a 2/7, which is great power. So there are things that are going to be a bit more awkward than I think we're giving it credit for. Again, I think it's a great card, and I think we'll find uses for it. But I think the potential of it is very high, but there's also a pretty low floor that is not necessarily being talked about.
Okay, that's fair.
That's fair.
So what do you give it? What's your rating? I gotta hear this.
I think it's going to be a gold.
Preview.
I really do. I think it's going to be a
Okay.
gold card. I don't think it's going to go everywhere, because for me, platinum means that it's a surge, right? Or that maybe that's even diamond. But for me, a platinum is like it's going to be used in a ton of different decks, and I don't know if Herby will be used in a ton of different decks. I think it wants very specific homes.
Okay.
But I don't think it's like a generic 2-drop you're putting in everything.
Maybe. I think it might be. I mean, Nico ended up being that way. We'll see. I mean, I know his activates is a bit different. Going up against it, though, however, will the opponent be able to see what the Herby activate is about to be? Because I think that makes a difference as well. Because if I have a Red Guardian,
I would
I can
assume
see.
so, based on the card arts, because you have the main primary card art, and then these are secondary pieces. So
Right, so they turn to those things we mentioned. Okay.
yeah, it's kind of like the Nico spells, if you will.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at what these will roughly be. They'll be, you could click on the card and then you'll flip over to it. It's like, oh, there it is. It's this one right now, you know?
I also imagine once activated, it'll just lock into that one. It's not like it changes again after
Well,
that.
you'll know what it is.
No. Well, that part, I know. Right. My whole thing is, especially playing with Red Guardian, do you hit it now? Do you wait to see if your opponent's going to change to different activate?
Right.
Like, that's what I'm saying. If I get to see what it is and I go, oh, give double this card's power, yeah, I'm hitting this right now. Especially if I have priority, I'm Red Guarding it, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. I think going up against it's going to be a bit interesting if we both can see what
I
Herby
honestly
is about
think
to
secretly
activate.
the rock might be one of the better modes on this. +2 energy in the rock. Unless you're buffing it and you get the double power. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. That's a fair point. Yeah.
Also, Bloodstone
Either way,
loves that card better than Mr. Sinister, I think.
And so does, and I talked about filling up lanes is going to be very important. So we're not going to actually talk about the rest of the cards, but I think one thing that's been missed quite a bit for filling up lanes is the new Rhino change. I think that rock coming out is going to be really important with that Rhino change. And that's going to be real. I think Rhino will be in a ton of the decks that use the cards that just fill up the lanes.
We used Rhino recently for Dormammu, which was fun. So Rhino finally got some love, so he's gonna get some more love. I
wouldn't even be surprised if that is why the Rhino change was made, because of the cards coming out this season.
Interesting. We'll talk about all the cards next season, on the next episode, when we see the the actual video, and we make sure everything is up, correct. So we'll break down every card coming out in the next episode. So make sure you guys stick around and hear our thoughts on that, because I haven't looked at those cards yet. Yes, I looked at the variants. I even made a variant video, but I did not look at what the cards do and what they're all about. So speaking of cards and things that are coming out, there's a very interesting question that we wanted to discuss. And I'm going to let Gunny go with this and lead with this. The question is, when do we expect to see Series 6 cards in Marvel Snap? Gunny, you brought this up. Great point. Great conversation.
I just asked about it in a Discord comment. So I said, I had a little chat about, hey, how far away from getting Series 6? And guest was like, stop. Don't talk about this. We're going to talk about it on the cast. So I think it was a great thing to point out, hey, let's just have this conversation. So my thought process is, as we continue to get cards, it just makes it harder and harder for the new player to catch up. So a Series 6 to me isn't a price increase. We're not going to see a Series 6 that costs 8,000 tokens, or we're not going to call Kid Omega our Series 6. Specifically, I'm talking about dropping cards down and making some cards that have been out longer cheaper. My thought process here goes through, so I went ahead and I counted cards, right? So we have a total of 362 cards that will continue to climb in the game right now. We have 74 of them that are Series 1 below, so Recruit and Starter Pack and whatnot. We have 25 in Series 2. We have 125 in Series 3. We have 84 in Series 4 and 92 in Series 5. 92, that is a ton of cards. My math was real bad on this, so don't lock me in. But if we counted Series 5 at about $50 a piece, that's $4,500 worth of collecting cards. And then if we counted Series 4 at $20 each, and again, I think it's actually a little bit lower than what it is. It's almost $1,000 worth of cards. So I had thought about how this could be broken down. So Series 6, to me, could be cards that are released within the last year. And if you look at cards released in the last year, there's 62 of them right now. So that would be cards that are priced at 6,000 tokens, or if they're in a booster pack, it would be 5,000 tokens, however that breaks out. Series 5 would be cards that are currently in Series 5, and then after that year mark. So really, Arishem was the cutoff. I think that came out July 5th of last year. So pretty much everything before Arishem would be in that Series 5 realm. And I think we could take that down to 3,000 tokens, which is where our current Series 4 is at. And then Series 4 is pretty much everything that's been released. It is currently in Series 4, and then things that would be released. I think they would get released straight into Series 5. And then how I think this works is let players know what's happening. Don't do series drops anymore. Just each month, as things come, they get bumped down to the next bracket. And I think we continue on with the flow there. So Series 4 would cost 1,500 tokens, and then Series 3 would be 750 tokens. And again, math is super crazy on this, but the idea is we have a Series 6 that is more recent cards, Series 5, which is just older cards that have been around for a while, and this would hopefully help people catch up in the game.
So Series 5 cards that we currently have that don't plan to move, like the big bads they called it in the past, the Galactuses, the Thanos, do they now drop to Series 4? They stay in Series 5, or do we move them to Series 6 and then we bring down the other cards?
Yeah, I thought about that. I thought about the big bads. Maybe either get rid of the big bad thing in general, or if you just want to stick to it, I don't care. It's a very small amount of cards to really worry about.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, now, listen, I think you're right? I definitely think Series 6 cards may be on its way, and it needs to be on its way. We do need some better series drops. We do need to allow people to now get these cards that have been out forever and make better cards, right? I think that's the next thing. The Series 6 cards are going to have to be better than what the Series 5 cards are now. So
I don't agree with that. No, I think you
don't.
Series 6 is just what Series 5 is now. Series 5 is just older Series 5 cards, or in the future, older Series 6 cards. You don't need to make them better or anything. I think people want the new cards. That's the things that people are talking about. So I don't think they lose a lot of money from a ton of players by making this happen. All they do is allow players to either catch up better if they've been away for a while, or get into the game and start making a bigger collection faster from old cards, right? Why does a card that came out almost 3 years ago now cost the same amount as a card that just came out this week?
Because I still think it's a better card overall. Like, if you want to compare Thanos to any card that came out this week, Thanos is still a better card overall.
See, you're doing one thing there. So in Magic the Gathering, Wizards says that they don't monitor the secondary market, right? They don't do things. They don't make products based on how popular a card is. Now they do that, right? But realistically speaking, I don't think Marvel Snap should be monitoring metrics and making cards cheaper because it's played less. That's actually kind of a bad thing to do, is like, hey, this card is going to remain expensive because more people are playing it. Like, if a card's been out for 3 years, it should just be cheaper. Like, they've already made their money on that card. I feel like, because they're not making, I'm not buying Thanos again. I already got Thanos. But the new player coming in, he's got to have so much catch up to even get to me. It would be nice if that Thanos was just a little bit cheaper.
I don't know. So, I mean, I hear you, but I don't know. It's tricky because some of the cards you want to kind of keep in that exclusive bubble so you work and earn it versus being able to get such a card of that caliber so quickly. I mean, I saw what happened when everybody got null. It was a shit show because now we went to the whole everybody's running Galactus, the Spider-Man play, because null went from a big bad and came down quickly for everybody to get it, and it became that problem. And I think certain cards still need to be at a certain place so that you have to grind to get it. You have to work to get it. But like I said, Series 6, I think that's a great idea. I think that might happen. But I still do feel some cards should still be where it needs to be, even if it came out 3 years ago, because it is a great card. But nonetheless,
Guess is over there in the think
what's your
tank.
take? Yeah, I want to hear what's your take on the Series 6 stuff? I think you're on mute, or you just... Yeah, you're on mute.
We broke guest.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I didn't realize I was muted. My bad.
Yeah, all right.
So the way Gunny broke down the introduction of how this conversation started, of like, hey, when do you guys think Series 6 is coming? And I, like, all caps went, shut up, don't say anything, save this for the podcast. This is a great topic. I was like, great. I thought you were going to first go down the direction of release cards that are more expensive than the current Series 5 value.
Nope.
Not say that our current threshold is the maximum, should be renamed Series 6, and then kind of break down the groups of Series 3 and 4 into Series 3, 4, and 5, basically, is, for the most part, my understanding now of what you wanted to do. Couple of things, okay? First off, I'll say what half of the people are thinking right now. Most of what you explained previously was the system that failed in the past, which was regular series drops, where after a certain period of time, the card drops into a lower series. No matter what, it's just how it used to be. After, Zabu would be released, it would be in Series 5 for 2 months, and it would go down another 2 months, and then boom, it goes down to Series 3. Like, that was just the natural progression for most cards. They got rid of that because it's a TCG. Come back to that. Then you start looking at your breakdown of comparing it to Magic. Now, you and I have actually had this conversation previously in other capacities as well, where you get stuck in a Magic mindset where a TCG versus a CCG is very, very different. In this case, card exclusivity is way more valuable in a CCG than it is in a TCG, because you have burner cards. You have your opportunity chance is what changes, and it's the gotcha element that, a lot of games kind of thrive on, very much so. Whether it's physical or digital is irrelevant, whether you're playing Genshin Impact or you're playing, Marvel Mystic Mayhem or you're playing Magic the Gathering, it doesn't matter. It's a physical chance. You have to open a pack, you have a bunch of burner cards, and then you can figure out what you want to do with the extras that you're not playing with because you got the cards that you actually wanted via volume. Versus here, where it's about resource management and allocation. And once you have it because you don't only play one of it at a time anyway. And I think that valuing of how valuable a card is because you have one of them in a deck out of 12 cards versus I need to collect 4 of these to put it in my deck of 60. There's a different value to that as well. And the ability to trade and sell uniquely without it being connected to a digital NFT. That's another conversation piece. The idea of having a Series 6 technically already exists in Marvel Snap. and I'm not talking Kid Omega, because that was, in my opinion, the actual true Series 6, but that was also due to, in my opinion, as I've said to select developers, idiocy. Series 6 exists only for players who are not collection complete. And that is for the week in which the card comes out and it's 6,000 tokens in the exclusive Snap Pack. That's the most expensive the card will ever be. And it's only for 1 week if you want it on the release week and you want to guarantee that you get that card. Right now, that is Series 6, because then it drops down to the seasonal Series 5 pack, where now you're mixing it in with Opportunity Chance. And the more collection complete you are, the higher your chance of pulling that card out of the seasonal pack, depending on how many cards you have left in it within the last 2 months of pulls. So that is kind of what Series 6 is, based on the way your system is already going. What you want to do, though, is reduce down the prices of everything. And there are several things that I will credit Second Dinner that they've made a lot of steps for, increasing the Series 3 rate tremendously to 4 cards every 10 caches versus 2.
Yeah.
We did the math when this came out. You can be Series 3 complete now by collection level 2000. The math on your cards is neglecting quite a few other things, like progression up the track, all the free resources you get along the way, etc. It was just rough mathing it. To the way that Second Dinner sells the card versus the way that Second Dinner values the card, I think is very different as well. Because I think we all kind of, as a public, value the card around $100. But when you factor in every other resource, including your time, for Series 5, I'm talking, like, including your time to get the card, I'd probably guesstimate that it's somewhere closer to $70. So even at your estimate of $50, you're undervaluing it.
Sure.
I think that Series 5s are still more expensive. Even if it's, saying 6,000 tokens, okay, you could buy 6,000 tokens for 7,800 gold right now. Boom, it's $100. Technically, yes, you could do that with every new card as it comes out, but that's not economically sound. For players to catch up and get to 90%, we'll call it 90% deck completion.
I'd say that's about where I'm at.
Right? If they were to start today, it's still going to take them at minimum 2 months, maybe upwards of 4 months to get to that number, which I think now is a lot more reasonable versus if we go back to January before they made those changes, you had to be collection level 8,000 just to finish Series 3. It was absolutely disgusting. It was awful.
It was horrible.
So
it was awful.
I broke down a lot of points of like reducing costs and things like that. And really what I'm kind of getting at is onboarding new players is going to become ridiculous. Like what happens when we're a few more years from now and there's 500 cards to collect? And most of those are behind a paywall that are not given to you for free, right? Like that, like where do we get to a point where players can catch up? And maybe the mechanic is something like the less collection complete you are, the cheaper things are to kind of like get you to catch up. Like that would be a neat idea of like, hey, maybe cards are $100 through whatever maths you do, but until you're like 50% complete, they're half that price or something. It won't affect me, but it will affect somebody who wants to join the game and start playing.
Right.
So from my past conversations with Matt, the lead on product design for Second Dinner, they chose to go with the Snap Packs option of having the cards, kind of go from the seasonal series pack to just the, collector's series pack, and have the price decrease in those values in the way that they do to replace series drops. But they never said that series drops are officially gone forever. And based on my past experiences with Second Dinner, they never want to say no, that it'll never happen again in case if it ever needs to happen again.
Sure.
And I personally believe that they have no plans to do series drops this year or even next year. But in your instance, where we start getting to the 500, card threshold, all of a sudden you're going to need to do a series drop of Series 5 cards and Series 4 cards down into series, a series lower,
Right.
just to make it more accessible for new players to join in. Now, for players also to catch up, Marvel Snap as a business has got to look at user acquisition in two different ways. If they want new players to come in, you've got to get them through the door, get the first microtransaction expenditure to break the ice, and then figure out what is the most somebody would spend to say, you know what, I'm caught up, and then go right to that number. So if I'm a brand new player starting today and you told me I could get to Series 3 completion for $50, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what Second Dinner is going to have to try to figure out for this next wave of players as we head into year 3 of the game, where now it's about, okay, we've had the rhythm, we've had the establishment. Now, how do we extend the game into a new audience? And you can even see that they're hiring for someone to do that right now. They're hiring on LinkedIn to get people focused specifically on user acquisition, which means they want to extend the lifeline of the game. It's not just squeezing dollars out of the community. They want to grow the community. They want to get new people to the game in a different way. What that way is, that's for that new person to figure out.
Right.
But they're going to have to still monetize it. Because if you can't just walk into this game after it being out for 3 years and expect to be 75 to 80% caught up for free. You can't expect that. That's literally stupid. From a business standpoint, that would make absolutely no sense. But if you could get $50 out of them to get to that point, I think that's a fair balance as a business versus the product demand. And I think that's what they have to figure out, is what is that level that they're going to need to push it? Like, how far complete for how little or how much in dollar for the next wave of Marvel Snap. And this flexibility of snack packs should help that. As we looked at it, Lauren did a lot of math breakdown on this as well, looking at the longevity of this system versus the longevity of Spotlights, which is what we kind of foresaw with the very beginning release of Spotlights, that this was an inevitable end for their own system in due time. Right. I think that they have a chance at getting user acquisition down, but it won't be through a Series 6 rebalancing of cards. If anything, it'll be the opposite. It'll be adding an exclusive card once every 3 months that is a Series 6 that's valued at $250. Like something like that has its own exclusive customizations, VFX, SFX, it's just like a wild party of a card. And it's expensive as fuck. And you can either buy it for $250 or you can wait one whole year to get it. That's literally the exclusivity on it. Like, I could see that level happening from a monetization.
Awful.
It's awful. It's awful in every way, shape, and form. But I could see it happening because that's an exclusivity for players who've been playing for 3 years. Versus Joe Bob, who's just downloaded the game and wants to get caught up and still compete. Two different goals.
For sure.
Yeah, two different goals.
And speaking of competing and having cards to do so, our next topic here is the ladder feedback. Time with Gunny. So,
nice segue.
I mean, listen, guys, I've played it last night. Watched a few people play it as well, and ladder was kind of bare. So a lot of bots showing up after minutes of waiting, and I definitely equate that to all the modes we had to play. People were playing Conquest to get their borders and their variant. People were playing Sanctum Showdown because today was the final day, right, to actually play and get what you needed. So everybody was away from ladder, it seemed, and focusing on those two modes. And for me, I mean, I was blessed and skilled enough to become Infinite earlier in the season. I feel for my guy Guess. Did you go Infinite today? I don't know. I can't even go on your stream today. How busy I was.
Long story short, prior to Clea, I was at rank 94. Post Clea for a whole day of streaming, I dropped to 84 over 7 different decks.
Wow.
Today, I played a normal Surfer discard deck and shot back up to 90. So there's still hope for me.
Oh, but my goodness.
When I tell you, Burnout hit. Burnout hit.
Listen, man, I get it. So ladder, it's been a very weird time, especially earlier and now and up to now, where I think everyone is grinding for that final moment to try to get infinite. But before today, everybody was playing Sanctum and Conquest. So for me, ladder felt very, like I said, plain. For those who aren't infinite, let me make that correct. People who are infinite, we're playing against other infinite players, so we see them, they load up real quickly. People who aren't infinite, it definitely takes some time for somebody to actually load up with you guys as of yesterday. Now that Sanctum is finished and only the shop is there, I'm sure you see more, but for me, that's what my take is for ladder. So, Gunny, what's your feedback on ladder right now? How do you feel about it?
So what I was going to say is a little bit different topics about ladder. So I hit infinite real early. I think it was the first week, and I just started grinding. Awesome. I made it to the top 1K, which isn't like the biggest thing in the world, but I haven't done that in like over a year. Just playing decks and climbing pretty well. One thing I wanted to note about ladder is how many decks I am seeing. Oh my god, it's crazy.
It's very diverse.
It's so diverse, and I don't necessarily know how much I like that. So I've had days, because I was trying to get up to top 1K just to do it, and I had days where I would crank on a deck for a while, and it was just going well for me, and then I'd load up, like this morning I started playing.
Can we rewind and pause for a second on the whole phrasing of crank on a deck? I wasn't going to let that slide.
We're Cino for that. We need that for real.
The spirit of Cino channeled in me because I heard him go, pause.
Yes, facts, because wow. Cranking on the deck. I'll get that t-shirt for Gunny. Yeah, continue. Go ahead.
But so like there were days where decks were working out really, really well for me. But then like today, for instance, I lost like my first 8 games. I couldn't buy a win. And then after I lose a couple games, I switched to like a different deck, and then I would just get countered by, like for instance, I switched to an Ajax list. And what did I play? I don't even know what I played against. A Debris, Cersei, like Strange Supreme deck that just happened to be running a loot cage. Like, what? It doesn't belong in that deck. Like, why? And it's just crazy. Like, there's some, it's just so diverse out there that I feel like there's counters to like everything. I was just trying to like find my groove sometimes. It's just been so weird because there are so many different decks. It's just been kind of wild. Whereas normally on ladder, you're counting on 3 or maybe 4 decks that you plan on seeing, and every once in a while there'll be an oddball that pops up. But right now there's like 8 to 10 decks that are playable and people are using, and it's crazy. It's crazy. It's the Wild West out there.
Yeah. But that's when the meta's good, though, right? Like, we like that. We like when people can.
I don't.
Oh,
yes
okay.
and no.
Why not? Okay.
So again, if you're trying to climb, you're trying to do well at the top of the ladder, you choose a deck and you put in your certain tech cards for the things you're expecting to see. And it's, rock, paper, scissors mentality. But now we're doing like rock, paper, scissors, machete, bazooka. Like, you don't know what to plan against.
Is that because the cards are plentiful? We have too many cards and some of them being more complex. So if you weren't paying attention, you don't know what a card does what. For example, as guest mentioned earlier, like the Helios and the Mercury and the other cards that came out, like even though you didn't get it, you have to know what it does. Is that the reason why it seems?
There's just so many playable decks out there. Yeah. There's so many decks that are like.
I said Helium. It's Helium? It's not Helium?
You said Helios, which is
even
like it's a new temperature rating.
I'm thinking
Helios.
of Greek mythology right now.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm at.
Go on.
Helion.
There's just tons of decks that are pretty darn good. And
and
I would say the one caveat on that is the only thing that really saves you in this game is your ability to snap and retreat. So I can continue climbing throughout the myriad of different decks I have to plan for because I just retreat for 1 whenever it's bad, or 2 if I end up getting snapped against, and I'm not taking big 4 and 8 cube losses and only playing into my strong hands.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I get it. Guess, how do you feel about the ladder? Since you're still cranking on those decks.
I see. Apparently. So, on that notion, though, of diversity, I do think that it's interesting where we end up in two different points of view.
Sorry,
It's fine. I saw the camera zoom. It was interesting. You need to see the video. Just leave that for the audio podcast. You just need to see the video on that one because your camera's got a thing for you, Gunny.
Yes.
Just saying. Where if there's too many decks that are good, it's a problem. But if there's like only 3 decks that are good,
It's a problem.
it's also a problem. So where's the sweet spot? Where is it? Where is the sweet spot of it's a healthy meta where there's like 10 or so decks that are good versus there are 15 or so decks that are good right now? Like the ceiling has been cut off on a lot of decks intentionally to help, level everybody out. However, you end up in one of two problems when you do that. You either nerf too many things and drop the ceiling down on everything so everything gets limited, or you have to buff to bring up, which is typically a healthier mindset for game minds from a gamer's mindset and from a developer's mindset. You want to buff things to go up to that level, which in turn ends up resulting in power creep, which is why most games end up going through power creep, because that's a better way to go about it versus just keep nerfing things down to nothing. So it's where's the healthy point of how many different decks you should be teching for if you wish to climb. And I think that this is, again, something that very often gets communicated in the social media side and the creators side of Marvel Snap very heavily. However, it does not affect most players, because what you're experiencing is what most players actually experience in the remainder of the other 99% of ladder versus the top 25,000 players in the top 50% of Infinite, which is only on average, it's about 2% of the player base. So up there, you end up seeing a lot of the same stuff where then you are teching for it. You are seeing, okay, there's a meta right now, and there's ongoing Thanos, there's Cannonball Mercury, and then there's this. Okay, so if I want to tech against it, I need to choose 2 out of these 3 to make it. Like you start going through that deck creation mindset versus what everybody else has to go through, which is the problem you're having, which is you have no idea what everybody else is going to play, because there's so many different things that are good. But I think that's more of a result of nerfs that have happened in the game over the last 2 to 3 months versus buffs and new cards. Because the new cards that have come out to that threshold of not exceeding, by too much what's already good and what's out there. And anything else that was an outlier, like a Thanos, for example, they brought that back down to a normal level of everybody's up here. This is all the good level. You can choose from the good level. But I understand your point of there's a lot of things right now at the good level. Does that mean we should bring some cards above that, though?
I don't know.
Yes. Bring more at a good level.
Maybe it's just.
And why is it not infinite?
Situation. Right. So maybe it's a tech card situation where there is just weird, like, for instance, if every good deck, if there was a ton of them, 100 good decks that all relied on like cost reduction, then Mobius is really good. But right now there's just so many different decks that you have to try to tech different things into, where your deck is really only going to have probably 2 to 3 tech cards, probably only 2 really. And for instance, one of the ways I was able to climb so much with my deck is because I was playing a Pixie deck. And people just stay whenever you snap.
Pixie's beautiful.
Like, oh, I Pixied.
Yeah.
You don't know I have a 1-cost Gore. That's kind of crazy. And I have a 2-cost Iron Man. And I have a 3-powered, because I buffed it up with Agent Venom, Mystique in my hand. So like I'm dropping all that on the last turn. And players are just kind of confused. And that's where my snap equity came from. I just the only tech card I had in that deck was Mobius.
Right. No, I get it. I mean, you have your faithful tech cards that will work in any type of meta, right? Shang-Chi and Enchantress. Yep. I think those 2 in a deck will be great. Put Zabu in there, and you're feeling happy at this point, right? Especially if you hit those 2. And I think I hear what you're saying. My question and my thoughts on this whole topic goes to, before Loki came out, people go back to say that was the best and healthiest meta. ever. But is it not the same thing we have now, which every deck could win you a game? You had the Sarah decks, you had the negative decks, you had the Khazar decks, you had every
Zoo,
right, exactly. So it's like we're kind of in that same boat right now. So back then they considered it healthy. Right now we consider it too healthy, right? Like that's where the question of the statement comes from.
Well, think about it. When was that? You said pre-Loki, right?
Yes, right before Loki.
So that's got to be what, a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's longer than that.
How many other?
It could be longer. Yeah.
How many cards have come out
2
since
years
then?
ago, almost.
Oh, plenty.
Yeah,
plenty.
Okay, so
Right.
even if it's at minimum, let's say a year and a half, 2 years, I don't know exactly. They'll let us know down in the comments, but
yeah,
however long
Loki
ago
came
it
out in
was,
October 2023.
yeah. So we're at 21 months ago for that card. The amount of deck diversity that has been able to happen from then till now is the reason why healthy in a smaller pool, which meant, hey, there's like 7 or 10 really good decks right now. Awesome. It's very diverse. Awesome. But a 7 to tech is still a gold standard in a way of that's a healthy meta. These 10 decks are really popular right now, let's say, because they're all very successful. But if that list grows to 20 because we have another 150 fucking cards on top of that list from Loki on, that's why it feels weird, because you're taking that same list of 10 and then you're adding on another 7.
Yeah.
Another 7 decks. Now you've got 17 good decks. I'm making up numbers here, obviously, but,
I know, but
you get the idea
think,
of what I'm saying, though.
Yeah,
right?
but I still think that's good, because that gives every range of player a chance to be competitive, right? So you have the lower rate players that are playing with Sarah, who have the lower series players that are playing with Sarah and those other cards, because they don't have the newer cards. They're having a nice pool of 5 to 6 great decks they can run and play with. Then you have the mid-tier people who have, been playing the game for 2 years, who have that much of series cards and a nice collection level. They can run the other 10 decks. And you have the people who've been playing it for 3 years who can play with the bigger cards, the better cards, right? And they can have a good set of 10 decks. So I think because it ranged over all the series players and all the collection level players, that should be considered a healthy meta versus just the top players.
You just get into an odd point where I feel like over half the games I go into, I'm like, just deck selection alone is, am I going to win or am I going to lose?
But are you not looking to play your hand, though? When going up in a match like that, you're worrying about deck selection. Aren't you not just trying to play your best? Like you said before, if you playing out your hand and you realize, all right, by this turn, I'm not going to win this game, you retreat.
Here's how you know Gunny's answer. Gunny, do you like to play Move Bounce?
Nope.
Do you like to play Mr. Negative?
Sometimes I'll play some Mr. Negative.
Do you like to play, just better yet, regular Bounce, not even Move Bounce, just like regular Bounce?
I just don't play Bounce.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying. Those are decks that you just, like, what you drew, you're either going to snap or retreat, right?
Correct.
No, it's about interactivity. You like to interact with your opponent's side of the board.
Decks.
You're trying to play with their deck. And you like to tech against it, and you like to combat that sense.
Yes,
versus somebody who plays.
I'm playing a game against my opponent and not just solitaire.
Right, and
that's
exactly the case.
Yes.
Where some players prefer to play decks that are more one-sided. It's just like, look, if you have the Mobius, go ahead, take the win, and that's all it comes down to. If you have the Mobius and you drew it, I'm just going to retreat and you win. And that's a negative deck mindset of I'm just going to do the big thing because I can scale higher than you in more lanes. That's just how my deck is built. But 2 cards will take it down. If you have it and you have it, you win. And that's how some players will play. Bounce is the same way. But Sarah Tech, which is considered, the OG original hard deck to play, but was a really good deck to play.
Yes, correct.
If you knew how to properly pilot it, you were a beast of a player back in the day. That was like the deck to really, really dominate with. But it was the most difficult deck because you had to have so much more knowledge about the game than everybody else to also pilot it. And I feel like that era has kind of gone away where it's not about that as much because you're mainly talking about deck diversity, versus deck knowledge.
Right. And I like it this way because, again, people are playing with move and hulking in a deck and going 10-0 in a tournament and winning with it versus somebody's running a Thanos ongoing deck that is the best deck anyway and winning the championship. You know what I mean? Like, I like the fact that we see people using different cards and winning and being competitive.
I can't disagree
so
I think we're in a healthy spot. It's just I'm pointing out how difficult it could be sometimes. Like I really do feel like, did you include the correct tech cards in your deck? If yes, you have a chance. If no, you're going to lose.
No, and I think you're right. Because speaking of Sino, who I spoke to 2 days ago, his issue was just that. It was just, I'm playing the game. I don't know what this new card does, and I'm going up against it. Do I have what I need to beat it? I'm losing. I don't want to play. Like, it becomes frustrating. So I understand what you're saying, Gunny. From his point of view, that's how he feels. My cousin, he's the other way. He goes, I'm going up against a lot of destroyed decks, and I'm running death in my deck, and I'm running this to counter it. So he's having a blast, right? Then my little brother is another one that he's only going to play his deck. So if you could stop him, he'll retreat. But if you can't, he's going out and win. So I like that 3 different people are enjoying the game 3 different ways. And I think that's the way the meta should be, so that we should expect newcomers to come in and also have that type of, hey, I can play like this, this, or this, and still have a chance to win. But I do understand your point, for sure. And speaking of people in their comments, let's talk about last week's comments. As we did discuss a few things here in regards to awesome things when it came to Professor X blowing our mind. Because we did do this live on guest stream, and I had no idea that you can play a skill in Prof X.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is going to take me on a discussion about skills here in a second.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let me bring up the other comment. So that was from Nico Power. Then, of course, somebody mentioned Dormammu with Fenris, Shang-Chi, and Null is also a great combo for Dormammu. And people loved how Sino killed the intro for that video, which we didn't have an intro for. But nonetheless, let's talk about skills because that needs to be discussed.
Oh my God. Fucking skills. Excuse my language. All right. Let's talk. Do you think skills are good or bad? Like, straight up, like the card itself, the skills, do you think generically are skills good or bad?
Generically, I think they're good as long as they're 2 costed lower.
Yes.
Right.
I said because of Yu-Gi-Oh, yes.
I think skills are just straight up good. So
Yes.
it's a good card to play. I think right now they have too much value in the game. Just like they did for Professor X, there needs to be more cards that have different text on them about skills. For instance, Negasonic Teenage Warhead. That needs to say the next character you play here is destroyed. That does not need, because right now you get that blown up with a skill, which is awful. I also don't think skills should count for filling a lane, right? For instance, the raft. The raft is supposed to be this thing where it's like weird. Are you going to fill the lane? Am I going to fill the lane? Right now with skills, you get to do it for free. And there are other just locations and things like that you. Right. And I like the fact that you can put a card in a lane and not have a card, get put over there for, like, they can't annihilate over the -9 power. That's decent, but I don't think we should be able to fill up the raft with a skill. It stinks. If you're not playing a skill deck, now your opponent has this distinct advantage over you.
I agree. I got mad at something before too, when something was supposed to happen and it took the skill instead, and I'm like, that makes no sense because I can't Gwen pool the skill, so why is it able to do that to a skill that, you know what I mean? So I agree with you 100%. Skills should be considered. Was it Sakar? Yes, it was. Yes, because I was like, all right, it's going to pull. It's going to pull my Infinite because it cannot pull the skill, and sure enough, it pulled the skill, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? So yes, it should not allow to do that. The locations need to be able to not work with skills. Go ahead.
What's the other one that fills up the entire lane?
White Hot Room.
Is it
+3 power?
No.
+3 energy?
No, I'm talking about the one that whenever you play one card there, it fills up the entire lane. Anyways,
the one. Blank. Yeah. The purple lane that you can only play one card in.
That should say character. There's no reason that somebody should be getting 5 skills out of it.
Oh, you mean Bar
Because
Sinister?
again, we agreed.
Not
and I
Bar
started this
Sinister.
conversation talking about
Sinister. Yeah, Bar Sinister.
Bar
Sorry.
Sinister.
Oh, you're saying the duplicate. Oh, so Bar Sinister. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
I thought
right.
you were
Yeah,
thinking
so
of Space Throne.
we
That's what I
talked
thought you
about
were
this.
thinking of. Sorry.
Yeah.
We talked about this and we agreed that skills are
Yeah.
good cards. They're good to have. It's not like you're doing something
Yeah.
negative there. It's not bad.
Correct.
So
Correct.
then why am I able to get 5? I'm not doing the thing that this location used to punish me for, right? Like, when am I going to play into that lane and fill it up? Like, there were some interesting things. Like, I don't mind the Green Goblin interaction. Like, okay, that's very unique. But skills getting to do that is just wild.
Yes, he's absolutely right.
It's a lot of
Skills
energy.
Should not multiply there. Should not multiply there. You're absolutely correct.
I think
Bar Sinister should not make a copy either.
Just like they revisited the Professor X thing, which I think is whatever. Like, that's kind of a cool interaction. I get it. They just need to revisit locations. They need to revisit some of the cards about specifically characters and not skills.
Yeah. Agreed. Totally agree.
I can be down for that. I think there needs to be more separation between what cards can do versus what
again,
characters can do.
The raft I think is a perfect example. Like, if you were able to move your card out of a raft location, or you used a Green Goblin to fill up your raft location, that was a very unique interaction, and you paid a price to have that unique interaction in your deck. Just having skills and getting to do it for free, that seems wild.
No, I totally agree with that. Good call.
And on top of that, the skills are super cheap, right? Especially with Merlin, right? I'm filling up that location on turn 2 or turn 3. That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's no cost.
They
got to
figure out
get a
something
free
with
6
skills.
cost.
You're right. No, you're absolutely correct. Only the Mandela, the Tower Mandela, is the only thing that's expensive, right? For skills.
No,
and the
that's
Dormammu
a 2 cost.
Dormammu.
They just
Oh yeah, that's right. It got nerfed.
They just
got
reduced
buffed.
it. No, the most expensive skill right now is Astral Projection and that's the 4 cost.
Yeah, that and the Dormammu one.
Yeah. And the Dormammu was 3 though.
Yeah. Astral
That's
Protection
3.
costs 3. Astral Protection.
Yeah, it's 3, not 4.
No, sorry, not Astral Projection. The Images of Icon. That's what was like the one that duplicates. That's the 4 cost. That's the only 4 cost. That's what I was trying to get to.
So down in the comments, guys, let us know what you feel about skills. Is it good for the game? Should they interact with locations as cards do? Or should they be a difference? I mean, it is a difference when it comes to other cards. So why not locations as well? I totally agree with that. Gunny, thank you for coming on and posing that awesome question. Chat, again, let us know down below. Series 6, what do you think about it? We'd like to know. We'd like to read the comments in the next episode as well. Guests, thank you for your time, as always, buddy. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.